Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Magic Arena, and today we're going to be continuing, well, almost ending our series on the Updating the Precons. At the time of this video, the whole card set for Crimson Vow came out, and I've just finished watching the common and uncommon set review for the most part. Lots of interesting things to consider, though it probably wouldn't change much. But there are some significant minor changes that I might just do a one-shot video outlining all the changes I would probably do. But before that, we do have to finish this series, so we are in the second to last one, so that means blue-black. So we got Control Center over here. Now this is the original one. It's reliant on maintaining a lot of control in the early game, and then just and then just hitting back with something relatively big. Now the caveat is generally the control decks really want to have very efficient finishers and the really good ones. So that would be Imrit, that would be the Mind Flayer. Mind Flayer is still kind of questionable because there is plenty of X3 removal all around, but it's still relatively good, and very late it can actually steal one of your opponent's bigger threats, which is actually a very big thing. I would also note that we definitely kept a few copies of Poison the Cup, but not all of them. We kept the Elder Fang Disciples, we kept the Flunks because it'll be really annoying to run into this and have to answer a Toski. We kept the Baleful Mastery, and we actually kept the Callous Blood Mage. Just the option to exile a graveyard, it can actually be really strong here. But the rest of the deck, I kind of actually salvaged it from the white-blue deck, so we'll take a look at what we're running instead. Also, I probably should... We aren't actually running any gold cards, though Siphon Insight is probably a good option. I just opted not to run it for now. Though it does work, I would especially if you're trying to maintain control. Sometimes stealing your opponent's threats is just as good as countering them or answering them. So if you have the rares, I would run a few copies of that. That said, we ended up adding Professor Onyx. We ended up adding the Learn Lesson package, so that's one copy of Mascot Exhibition on the sideboard. Now, because of how important it is for us to be in control, and usually the hallmark of that is creature land, so this is probably the one deck where we're actually running at least one Storm Giants, one Eye Tyrant. Depending on your mix of mana, you could adjust this. If you have more slots for rares, definitely go for more Hall of the Storm Giants. The snow-covered mana is just for Blood on the Snow. Buying back one of your bigger threats is pretty good. Even if it's just buying back the Callous Blood Mage or the Elder Fang Disciple, it's fine. We added a few Delver of Secrets as well because we're otherwise mostly spell-based. I could even argue like cutting the Elder Fang Disciple, replacing with a few more spells kind of works here. As for removal, we kept the Flunk, we added Infernal Grasp. We replaced the search for the Villain's Lair with Saw It Coming because this one's generally better. Wash Away is coming out, so that might be an option. We also added the Divide by Zeros because I originally tried running this with a mix of Fading Hope, but I figured, you know what, the flexibility is a lot better, and getting a card out of it also helps a lot. We added a Soul Shatter. We adjusted the Poison the Cups a bit because we're running Infernal Grasp. Added a few Behold the Multiverse. But otherwise, that's pretty much it that's pretty much the main concept of the deck. We should be able to give this one a go. Now, because of its control nature, games will generally be a bit longer, and because we only have a limited number of rat effects, we have to be very careful on how we use our removal. And oddly enough, most of the actual control spells tend to be in the uncommon range, so let's see. I might just Elder Fang Disciple turn 2 because I have no idea. Okay, Battlecry Goblin. Yeah, I'll just Elder Fang Disciple on turn 2. We need to start pairing out resources like that Frostbite. We're probably gonna take a hit off the Battlecry Goblin, but yeah, there's another Frostbite. That's fine. Pretty much the goal is just to clear the board for the most part. Unfortunately, we are a bit a ways away from this, so we might have to actually hold up Baleful Mastery. We're gonna give our opponent a card, but if our opponent activates this, it's a... okay. Minimize the damage a bit. Yeah, unfortunately, the most we're probably gonna... our opponent's probably just gonna pump this one, so we might Mind Flayer next turn just to steal something, but we could be in danger. If our opponent goes for... yeah, they're gonna do the safety. So we're gonna be taking 8 damage. Shadow's Verdict would be nice here. Okay, we will see that coming. And we are kind of forced to play Mind Flayer now just to stay alive. But my issue with Mind Flayer is that is because it's an X3. The good news is if our opponent has a burn spell, you see a pair of goblins, just pumps it. Yeah, that's a good game. We did not answering 1-for-1. We barely even answered 1-for-1. We were just kind of waiting on the blood and the snow, but we did not have the answers we needed. Yeah, giving our opponent that extra card hurt us there, so that is an issue. Also, drawing the few extra lands when we could have used even a Jawari Disruption would have been great there. But sometimes that's how the control matchup goes. Aggro is generally your #1 opponent. Our opponent was on the play, though. Yeah, our opponent was on the play that hurt us slightly. We might have been able to counter the second. We might have been able to counter the second one if we were on the play instead. That said, let's see how this goes. At least we're playing this time. So turn 2, clear the pathway. Probably just land the Elder Fang Disciple. Yeah, we need to pare our opponent's board down a bit. Now our opponent does have Disturb, so it could actually benefit our opponent if it turns out our opponent's white-blue. Kamsi Kamsa. The opponent discards a plains. Next turn we can just hold up Saw It Coming. Definitely taking that hit. Opponent has Sun Gold Sentinel. Yeah. You didn't have to exile that, but if you're so inclined. You can also use like Hype of the Eye Tyrant to buy some time there. We're definitely countering that one. But wow, we're drawing into more lands again, so that is an issue. Thankfully, we could run the Devious Cover-Up package, but usually that assumes you have a ton of rares to begin with, and we don't, so no real reason to do so. I'm probably gonna still play the Elder Fang Disciple there. It gives us a sort of blocker for the Sun Gold Sentinel. Opponent is also kind of flooding. So we have multiple options. If our opponent swings with both, I might just double block the Chaplain, though they just get it back and it's flying first strike, which is even worse. So I'm actually gonna just jump block here. Yeah, the Sun Gold Sentinel is the more important one. Opponent has rallied the ranks, so kind of fine. Now this is just ward 1, so next turn we will actually be able to nuke it. Well, there's also a flunk that nukes it too. But we kind of want to use the Baleful Mastery on that. Because it exiles it. Flunk does not quite exile it, so that's a thing. Rally the ranks. So that answers that. And this is where having creature lands makes sense. Brutal Qatar, but is painful. But let's see. I can just flunk this guy. Yeah, let's just flunk it. Get it out of the way. Then next turn we can divide by 0 whatever our opponent plays next, and just cast Mascot Exhibition. In fact, I will let that land. Bounce this one instead. Our opponent will have to cast nothing and then cast something. I am willing to trade the element. Oh wow, he had it all. But so slight issue here. This is gonna flip. It would become, well, it becomes a werewolf, so that actually is an advantage to us. Also, Hive of the Eye Tyrant has Menace, also an advantage to us. Nice, we'll mute the Brutal Qatar. So it morphs into a regular werewolf. Our opponent will have to cast 2 spells to flip this up, and well, doesn't have it. Is running green. Lunarch Veteran, so can now block. And this has first strike, so it's an issue. We have a Saw It coming, but can't quite cast it. We can't. No, actually I want to hold back. And the reason for holding back is because our opponent has to cast 2 spells. They're not getting anywhere near that. They could activate Cave of the Frost Dragon. In fact, they just accidentally signaled that. So now I have to be careful not to cast the 2 spells. And this has Ward, Pay 3 life. Sure, I'm down for it. Oh wait, cancel. Don't do that yet. Oh wait, no, we can, because it doesn't matter if it flips if it's gone. Exile creature you control. And now we swing with the this guy. Now this is not human, so our opponent can chump block if they want to. I actually wouldn't mind. Yeah, opponent's not gonna fall for that. Now the one thing to note is that it's only human on one side but spirit on the other. So if I were to counter this, I might want to wait to counter something else. Yeah, let's counter this. Because our opponent can recast it, but it won't come back as a human. Elite Spellbinder. Oh, does have another human. Okay. And Luminous Phantom to slip past. Okay, you know what? Let's borrow that. Now opponent is forced to chump block. Yeah, Mindflayer are actually doing some good work against opponents that don't exactly have interaction. Though our opponent could eventually draw into. I was gonna say our opponent could draw into, like, say, what do you call this? Skyclave Apparition, though it does not hit Mindflayer in this case. So good job, Mindflayer. Also, props to the mascot exhibition. Also, props to the Divide by Zero base. Even if it's not a pure counter, being able to generate extra advantage as needed, really powerful. Now, this is where we put the Delver to the test. We don't have the Fading Hope, so no natural Scry. Our only Scry is the Decline. But since our opponent is taking their time, we'll drop the Elder Fang Disciple. Nuke their hand. Next turn, we'll probably decide if we want to just hold up Salundi, divide by 0. Opponent runs Ranger class. Reveal. Now, since we have a Salundi vision, we can actually just hold back the. We can actually hold back the Saw It Coming. Though it does scare our opponent because they know we have it and they're gonna. Yeah, they're going to cast it. I could just ruin their day by divide by 0. Let's save the hard counter for something else. No, because our opponent needs. In fact, it's an argument for. It's an argument for dropping the Pelaka Predation now, although I end up missing my divide by 0 chance if it gets to that. But I think it's better because if we can snipe out a Ren or okay, Briar Bridge, Kazandu Mammoth, they have a Blizzard Brawl, which is annoying, though. Yeah, we'll just nuke the Briar Bridge Tracker because that's card advantage. Probably just play this as a land at this point. Yeah, we are going to lose the Insectile Aberration to Blizzard Brawl. Opponent even hits the land for it. So they might actually just go for it right now, snipe it right away. It makes perfect sense. We can Behold if we need to. We'll take the hit. We also have a divide by 0 hold up if we need to. Also, Jawari Disruption's nice. Depends if they actually have anything to cast. More likely than not, they just drop that, bumps that. Let's see. Yeah, if they're smart, they pump it on the side. I'm concerned with doing the divide by 0. But we definitely can't take too much damage, so we're gonna just chump block for now. Behold the Multiverse, draw into cards. Because Snakeskin Veil is always a real threat, especially if we're not targeting spells. Okay. I don't think I want another Delver at this point. I'm okay with another land because we have a Disruption. Flunk is fine too. We're actually gonna flunk the Wolf token because we can. They did have a response though. Yeah, kind of wish I could hold up. Yeah, they. Oh wait, good. They bounced back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we go Teaching of the Archaics because we do need to draw cards. Our opponent is just going to replay the Kazandu Mammoth and a Werewolf Pack Leader. If an opponent has more cards than you, draw 2 cards. Okay, that might have been a mistake. Yeah, this is a mistake. We should have just gone for the. No, our opponent, oddly enough, is not. Old Growth Troll. I do need to cast this just to empty their hand a bit. Just to empty our hand a bit if we're gonna get Teaching to matter. So we did hit another Delver. Then this gives us 2 more cards. Unfortunately, the way it tapped its mana, yeah, that was very unfortunate. And they had the Blizzard draw, so we can concede this one. So probably should have auto tapped. I'm actually surprised why it decided to hold up all the blue mana. That was super weird. But yeah, we got hoisted by our own auto tapper there. So don't just cast stuff willy nilly. Well, yeah, aggro is usually our enemy there. We were fortunate that we were able to answer for the most part. Only having 2 copies of Blood in the Snow is an issue. If you guys feel strongly about some of the other spells I put in, you can just probably add more. It does make sense. So we will do turn 1 Delver, turn 2 hold up Jawari, turn 3 just play the Jawari, play one of them as a land. Keep holding up if we need to. The turn 1 Delver kinda gives us some sort of game at least. Usher of the Fallen. Yeah, reveal. And at least gives us some racing material. So if our opponent has to turn to Luminous. Oh, Stonebinder's Familiar, sure, that's fine. Portable Hole. No, that one we counter. I think our opponent was expecting to put this in exile and buff this. So we kind of ruined that plan a bit. Okay, hit the Shipwreck Marsh. Now we kind of need to draw into another land because if our opponent casts Sun Gold Sentinel's fine. Exile 1 card. So that will buff the Stonebinder's Familiar. I could just snipe the Stonebinder's Familiar, but I'm probably gonna snipe the Sun Gold Sentinel instead. Yeah, we're taking damage as it goes along. Not so great. Now we're just basically setting up for Blood in the Snow. Which means ideally we don't have to cast this Sun Gold Sentinel. Okay, we probably will start holding back the Insectile Aberration. Professor Onyx might be a bit late. we also need to... So we need to survive long enough. Exile one of their own cards. That makes this a 4. 3, 4, 5, 6. So we are forced to block the Stonebinder's Familiar. Go down to 1. Super risky. Also, I can't use Professor Onyx's positive ability until I regain some life. And oh no, opponent hits Redain. Ah! Of course they have Redain. Yeah, we needed the Blood on the Snow, but the Redain ruins it. We still need the land, but yeah, that's good game. So what kind of happened there was, yeah, we were relying on the Jawari Disruption, but our opponent had too many cheaper spells there. So this one not so... So this one's kind of a bit unfortunate. We'll probably give this one another go, although it is a bit of a feel bad. But it does highlight the issue that this deck generally wants rares. It wants rares all throughout, even though most of the control package is minimal, but it really wants those multiple Blood in the Snows. It really wants to save up removal for as long as possible. It really, well, I guess it's also possible that we just happen to not hit the right timing. So you know what? We're gonna give this one another shot. I can't really think of any other pertinent changes here. Sometimes it's just you actually do need to have more lands than usual because you are running control, but I suppose what I could do is I could cut more of the extra basics and just add more tap lands. That's another thing we could do. Yeah, I think a tap. Yeah, in that second game we lost. Playing the Palaka Predation was a mistake. We were better off just holding counters up. So our opponent gets to go first, which makes Jawari Disruption slightly worse. Because it means we can't Elder Fang Disciple, but we do have the counter plays relatively soon. It's just a question of if our opponent is also aggro. They are definitely aggro. Now, opponent's playing green-white, so our best bet is to hold up the Jawari Disruption to counter what may be a turn 3 or turn 4 play. Like that. Then next turn we have Divide by 0. We probably go for the Environmental Sciences because we need to ensure land drops. If our opponent goes for a Brutal Qatar, is actually fine because it doesn't hit anything. Like, sure, we could bounce it back. The issue is that if we're going to go for something like Mind Flayer, we can't have a Brutal Qatar quite running around. That said, this is going to flip if we don't do anything about it. I think the best bet might still be to Divide by 0. Because we do need the Environmental Sciences just to be sure. Even if the play is just Environmental Sciences, getting us another blue source, and just running out the Elder Fang Disciple. Like, if our opponent decides to capture this with Brutal Qatar, it's actually a good setup for us. Because our opponent goes Sigarda instead, so we can... If we hit another land, we can just borrow it. Though it does mess up. It's messed up with the Brutal Qatar, so... guess the best bet is to actually just Elder Fang and just fire off the Infernal Grasp. Our opponent's starting to run out of cards, so that is a good bonus for us. Opponent discards Portable Pole. We'll mute the Cigar the Champion of Light now. Opponent goes Intrepid Adversary, which is really nice. We unfortunately don't have the other land for it. If I go Soul Shatter, we end up taking this out. It's still probably better because it forces our opponent to... It's still better because it forces our opponent to recast. We can go for a second Environmental Sciences. I can actually... Because now we have Environmental Sciences into Soul Shatter as an option. Opponent, that was a weird tap. Our opponent could have... yeah, that was a weird tap. Our opponent could have gone for it twice. We'll take the hit for now. So there's a Sod coming. It came a bit late. Might as well swing now. Because if our opponent, say, draws into another Intrepid Adversary, we can borrow it with Mind Flayer. We can borrow it with Mind Flayer. The Brutal Qatar becomes the issue. Redain got... I actually want our opponent to play both. Yes, nice. So, lose that one. Take the hit. Take the Hive of the Eye Tyrant. We can then borrow Redain. We could also borrow Brutal Qatar and start flipping this one back and forth. It does mess with some of our spells. It doesn't mess with the ones we have right now, so that's something worth considering. Opponent decides to flip it. I think our opponent's planning to do the 2-spell thing. Now what we can... Now we have our own Divide by 0, so that is a plan. Which also means I can't cast Imrit quite yet. Anyway, we have the 7 mana, so... I actually want our opponent to play whatever cards they have left in their hands, so like, when I do bounce Moonrage Brute, we can get him to lose the Brutal Qatar. Now, annoyingly, that last... So definitely taking Mascot Exhibition. And now we have the Sod coming to defend against the Brutal Qatar when it comes back down. One discards a land. We'll take the damage for now. Like, sure, I could throw the Redain away, but we are essentially dealing more damage than them. Yeah, we need to get rid of that Brutal Qatar first. It does enter as Knight, so it actually will not take anything, but I'm not risking it. Yeah, it does give you the hover that's gonna be nighttime when it falls, but we still we might as well go for the defense. And there we go. We got. What was the green for? Ah, the green was for Sigarda. Okay, that makes sense. So that is pretty much how you take control, but it is awfully specific. It's really there is a bit of reliance on acting first. There's a bit of reliance on your opponent kind of taking their time. Our opponent was not playing true aggro. It was more of like human tribal. It feels great for brawl, but I don't think it works. I don't think it works right now. It's not quite a great fit. Okay, so this one's fine if our opponent is not control. That's also the other thing. It's very hard to anticipate what decks your opponent might be running. Thankfully, it looks like our opponent's deck is control. I'm actually going to hold up the Infernal Grasp. Next turn, I might just, depending on what our opponent's colors is. Okay, mono red, looking good. We will have to Infernal Grasp that because our opponent has too many cards to flank it. Okay. This probably eats removal, which I'm kind of fine with. Anything that delays our opponent, I suppose. Igneous Inspiration to the face. Okay. So it is burn, which makes the Infernal Grasp slightly awkward, but between taking the damage ourselves and flip. Yes, reveal. Flip. So our opponent might need to fire off an Igneous Inspiration on the Insectile Aberration. Oh, it's actually black-red. Let's see, what big drop do they have? Royal Eruption. We can divide it by 0, but it just does it again. We'll let it pass. We're gonna have to play the control game. I'm hungry for more. We'll let that resolve. And just flunk it, I suppose. So we have a Saw It Coming. If our opponent just goes to cast it again, I might play with fire. Yeah, we'll take that. Bloodthirsty Adversary. Yeah, we'll see that coming. We still need to hit one of our own threats, but we also need to hit the land to go with it. Pelaka Predation's somewhat scary. We know we can at least take out the start from scratch, but we can see if there's anything else to take out. I might rather just hold it though. It's a bit awkward. I probably should just play it as a land. Bloodthirsty Adversary. Doesn't have the mana to flip it. Bloodthirsty Adversary again. Slightly awkward to give our opponent the card, but we're giving our opponent the card, I suppose. Okay, there's an Elder Fang Disciple, so we have a blocker for, well, pseudo blocker. We don't really need to block it. Okay, opponent discards that. We might as well just play this as a land. Next turn, we're gonna do Divide by 0, get Environmental Sciences. Our opponent is starting to flood. Also, if they don't... I could just take the Necrotic Fume since we're already at 6 mana. There's also an argument for taking Mascot Exhibition since we're also close to 7. I think we take the Necrotic Fumes though. Because if our opponent plays Florian, we kinda need an out to it. The bad news is our opponent is gonna draw 1 out of 3 cards. And it'll be super awkward if it turns out to be a play with fire. So maybe that's an argument for bouncing the Florian. Okay, opponent gets a land. So awkward because it's a oh, he loses the land too. Okay, you know what? We did hit 7. We might as well nuke this now. We are in trouble over any other card our opponent has. We do have a few ways of card draw, but our life total is very precarious, all things considered. Vampire Socialite. Now this is the time for us to start drawing into more lands. Perfect. We could lose this way. A Blood in the Snow would be nice at least, though. Yeah, it gets us back to Delver, which is not great, but it's serviceable. We have a Salon Division to top into something, I guess, so that's something good. Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't need counter spells. Professor Onyx would have been nice, but no, we needed an actual removal spell. This one didn't really pan out. So the Salandi Vision was an option, but no, we kind of ran out of gas there. So I guess one change that we could do is to probably add more Behold the Multiverse. Give ourselves more options to casting, to drawing into cards, because that's usually what gets us. Yeah, I think if we had gone for, yeah, it would have been a better option. It would have been a better option if we had gone for the mascot exhibition. In that case, we were relatively close. That was a misplay. We should have bounced the floor. Okay, so I hate this. We need one more land hand. Oh, especially since we're, well, I guess we're about to be punished for this. The bright side is that we can use the Luminarch Aspirant, and we did draw our third land. So let's see, does our opponent have Elite Spellbinder? They always do, but they most likely take the Infernal Grasp, since I am quite unlikely to divide by 0 the Elite Spellbinder. Unfortunately, I could not play the Juari Disruption as a land. Now what I could do is, if our opponent does nothing, I divide by 0. Get Environmental Sciences. Hope I don't have to cast it right though. Basically, it's holding up the Saw It Coming that our opponent saw. Okay, since we can play the land, we're not going to. It does make it awkward since our opponent can also just choose not to cast it. Most likely they do, just to get it out of the way. I should get basically, we're setting up the divide by 0 to get mascot exhibitions soon. The Skyclaves. Yeah, we'll counter that. Jawar Disruption loses its value over time, but Code Spell Cleric. I think their opponent went there. Get an Elder Fang Disciple, so both of these are awkward. At least we have a blocker now, then we can kind of snipe a card for the time being. Opponent discards the Maul. They have another Maul, so we have another Divide by Zero. Unfortunately, our opponent having exactly 4 mana is really annoying. Yeah, we have to block at this point. Callous Blood Mage doesn't quite do it for us. It does buy us a little bit of time. Yeah, our opponent is just gonna keep stacking the Maul over and over again. We needed a hard counter for the Maul, which is absence 4, 5, 6. Oh, okay, we can disrupt that. Hit a piece of removal for this. If our opponent happens to have a removal for the flying token, that is an issue. Yeah, this could be the end of it. Intrepid Adversary. Oh wow. So we are in Chump Block City here. So we bought ourselves a turn, but highly unlikely we're gonna survive past this one. Yeah, we needed more than just counters. That's a short thing. So yeah, I guess an adjustment that we probably should make is the number of counters. But it's very hard because it's probably something where the sideboard is really very important here. If you do, like, if you bank a lot of removal early and only to run against a control deck, and believe me, Dimir control is starting to get very popular. You're gonna wish you had the counter spells. This is really hard to keep. Like, we have a bunch of counters, but we're so out of time here. I'm gonna keep this. Only because I can't really think of anything else better. I'm most likely gonna just play the Ice Tunnel turn 1. Eye Twitch. We have the Infernal Grasp. Valky, so we probably lose Imrith. We could lose the Delver, but that would be so weird. Oh wait, it's an MDFC, so I don't have to worry about Delver transforming. Because the Delver can't transform, they're basically gonna go for the Imrith. Which we can mine. So what we can do is, well, if we actually make it. So we're actually gonna just play this as is and just play the Delver. Because no point holding up against someone who knows what's coming. The only real benefit we have is let's see what depends what our opponent does. If our opponent swings with Valky, of course I'm gonna block. Opponent goes hunt for specimens. Environmental sciences, sure. Shambling Ghast. So, not knowing, we might end up just casting Solid Coming on whatever our opponent's next threat is. I could alternately just Infernal Grasp, but yeah, Mono Black generally loves their lands, so we're gonna force them to already have it. Which also means we are probably incentivized to not take out the Eye Twitch or the Shambling Gas. Well, generally. Okay, they did hit their 4th land. Now I could just do Imrith, but there is the risk of our opponent having a Soul Shatter. But yeah, because if even if I do Mind Flayer, Soul Shatter goes after the most expensive one, so unless I can go after something that's just as expensive, it really doesn't mean. I just have to hope that they don't have the Soul Shatter. They do. I could have cast the Mind Flayer first as bait, I suppose.
My will cannot be denied.
Yeah, just borrowing some stuff. It's a shame then. Yeah, maybe it's also an argument for subbing some of the Infernal Grass with Bloodchief's Thirst, because that will snipe a Planeswalker. Yeah, I kind of already knew our opponent had that somehow, but it's not like I had much. Could I have had a different choice? Maybe. Also means our opponent likely has a live Blood in the Snow, which is something that we do want. He took Massacre. Well, at least it clears the board for us. So we are going to be taking a. Yeah, we are going to be in for it. Yeah, that's the thing with control. Everything is so expensive in terms of mythics, and there's really no way around it. We hit the Salundi Vision, but not. What can we get from it? Flunk, divide by 0, behold the multiverse. Unfortunately, the Infernal Grasp has lost its usefulness because of how low our life is already. the divide by zero doesn't save us from these tokens. That's also another balancing act between divide by zero and fading hope. Destroy all creatures. Gets a creature back. Most likely the Valkyrie or the Eye Twitch. What we can do is we can bounce the Meathook Massacre. And just get Introduction to Annihilation. As much as we are... Opponent gets Valkyrie back. Sees we don't have anything. So he kind of dodged that one for now. Let's get rid of the lot at least.
I'm sure you'll miss me.
And now unfortunately we are going to have to take 2 damage, whether it's from Valkyrie or Infernal Grasp. If our opponent does a Deadly Dispute, he actually saves us the trouble and saves us our life. So thank you very much. We now have a second divide by zero, but we need our opponent to play something if we're going to tutor up the Mascot Exhibition. Also note that Skullport Merchant. We can snipe this now actually. Opponent's just doing safety x equals 0. We can kind of ruin that. Could be dead. We know we're playing from a disadvantage, so that one teaching of the Archaics, yeah, super unlikely to save us. Our opponent just needs to play 2 creatures and just play Meathook, and it's kind of over. Okay, 2 colorless. 2 black, 3. Okay, is that Professor Onyx? No, another Blood in the Snow. Oh, if you go for it is slightly, well, you still have the 1 mana floating. You can also just crack treasures for Meathook. Yeah, our opponent is really going to try to keep Meathook down as much as possible. Because they know our life is so low that oh wait. Actually, it doesn't matter. Nope. Cancel. Yeah, because we're bouncing this one back. It's a good thing I actually held that down because I did make a mistake in clicking it. So we do get the Mascot Exhibition now, but before that, I'm going to block this guy. That said, it doesn't really matter because there is the Faceless Haven's probably gonna kill us anyway. Probably should have held this back. Yeah, we're gonna say good. Yeah, we're gonna concede right there. The Faceless Haven kills us in the end. Yeah, I guess what we could have done is we could have just held back the divide by zero to bounce the Skullport Merchant and just flunk the Faceless Haven. So not exactly a great day for great day for control. there are plenty of issues to consider when running a control deck. Control is traditionally not the easiest one to do. So the fact that they actually gave a control precon is some is a bit encouraging. That said, you really have to expand your budget. You really have to have you really have to have a bigger complement of finishers like Imrit, Professor Onyx, and whatnot. The one card that I've been removing, but might be worth considering. Well, actually, not the Kaldheim version, but one can, depending on how the meta goes, one can consider adding a go blank. Being able to wipe out cards in the graveyard is probably gonna be relevant. So a lot of things to consider. Maybe not so much as saw it coming, but yeah, if you want to have flexibility between nuking creatures and planeswalkers, you're probably gonna need the full complement of Soul Shatter, Baleful Mastery. So, and also you probably want to have more of the creature lands. Yeah, it's gonna be a bit of an investment, but that is how it is. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this episode of the Magic Arena Run. If you like what you saw, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, turn on notifications and whatnot. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you guys again next time. Take care, God bless, stay safe wherever you are. Have a great week, everyone.